A special mention that I do love to talk and cook with my cousin Adil, hence I have chosen him. My absolute beginning would be just standing next to my mom, watching her cook, and I just probably had interest in cooking all the time. And then over time, I learned a lot of things with my mom, especially. And as I grew older, I realized that my interest was definitely towards this. So then I took up catering and food technology, and then I was working with the Welcome Group. And yeah, then I became a housewife, and then I suddenly became a home chef.
Well, the cooking thing happens to be maybe in our genes. We have inherited it from our grandfather. It runs into the family, therefore. Lamia, it's come to her also in a good sort of way. She's a wonderful cook. I look forward to meals at her house. But when we were young, we were always fascinated by my grandfather, especially when we would visit his home. He would be always tinkering around with new recipes, with a lot of innovation. I remember the time when he even put bananas in my sandwich, which of course was not a perfect option for taking a sandwich to school. But he really sort of experimented with a number of food and ingredients and recipes that have been sort of subsequently tried have all originated from him and another aunt of mine, Eliza, Papa Zainul, and my aunt Eliza. Through childhood, we have picked up the recipes mainly from him. So even today, unlike Lamia, who has made it more like into a profession also, because she's really turned out to be an expert chef of sorts, I still tinker around on a Sunday as a hobby. And I continue to sort of indulge in a lot of non-vegetarian cooking. She does a lot more pastries, cakes also. So for me, it's like, I'm a meat lover.
I think as I grow older, I realize it's literally roast meat. But we grew up calling it pappa no ghosh. There is no particular, name to this recipe. But we watched our grandfather, whom we all called him Papa, and it was a ghosh. So Pappa no ghosh, and it was literally nothing else but just that's the reason it's called Pappa no ghosh. And I think Adil will agree with me on that one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I just tried this recipe out just the day before yesterday to revisit all the ingredients and the techniques, I realized that it is the fact that Lamia just mentioned. It's a roast meat, okay? And it's a roast meat, the way you observe on even television. See, what happens is Indian meats are not considered to be as tender as maybe Australian or New Zealand steaks, which literally melt as soon as you put it on the pan. It's a little tougher, the meat that you get in our country. And Papa used to have a technique to prepare the meat in a similar way, but he obviously had to innovate in order to make the meat tender as it is supposed to be in a roast. And it is cooked with absolutely no water. So I think Lamia will come to that as we go on.
I don't know about Adil. He was living in Bombay with my grandfather. But my memory of this is because he used to travel to Hyderabad to spend time with us. As one of the big treats, he would actually get the whole big tiffin carrier full of this meat, and we would be waiting for him to come. And it used to travel well, even in an overnight train journey. That time there was difficult to fly. And because it's just cooked in its own fat plus ghee, it stayed very well all through the night. So we used to look forward to it. And in fact, he used to give this to family who used to travel also. My father-in-law was not very well when he was traveling to Jaipur with another aunt and family of ours. And Papa just made a whole lot of this ghosh and said, take this for your trip. You'll be okay. That's my memory. I don't know what Papa did in Bombay. Adil will tell you on that one.
Yeah. No. He was so fond of cooking, which was obviously therefore Sunday cooking would be something that he would indulge in. But later on, as he sort of grew older, he would try to make it a point to prepare this whenever he invited his family. So, like Lamiya's parents, my parents, they all have enjoyed this dish. And Papa had six daughters. So, obviously, he did not have a son at home. He would invite the families of all the children and grandchildren. And this was one of the specialities that he would like to indulge in and cook besides Sundays, even on any special occasion that he would want to. So, it's a special way of cooking, and he would look forward to having family meals with this recipe.
So we take a piece of meat, maybe half a kilo, let's put it at that, because it eventually, as we cook, it produces half a kilo, including its fat. And then take a nice helping of 200 grams worth of ghee and put a little bit of ginger garlic paste and salt, and just put it in the cooker and let it cook on get about 4 whistles, and after that let it cook for another maybe 20 minutes or so. Then please check, and then if it's soft enough, take it out, and do not discard that crazy amount of ghee that it's swimming in. Please eat it. Put some roast potatoes in it if you have to, but don't let it all go. It's just pure meat, but it is delicious. And if you want, you can of course add pepper, because there may be people who may not want to just eat. You can put a little bit of sliced chilies and pepper, but that would be against the recipe.
Yeah, I think the main ingredient, as Lamia mentioned, is the ghee and the salt. So the ghee and the salt is what actually tenderizes the meat. It removes the moisture from the meat to an extent where it actually falls off the bone. The meat literally falls off the bone, and you're just having meat in the fat, its own fat, and it gets cooked in the pressure cooker. So, yeah, I mean, garlic and ginger and pepper or chili is depending on your taste.
Hardcore meat lovers will just devour it like that. But you can, of course, eat it with roti, parathas, or you can even have it as in an Indian steak sort of a thing. You can have some mashed or roast potatoes with some vegetables. That's really a personal preference, but the real story is the meat.
But
You
you're
can
right.
even put it on some on a buttered rice or something like that.
My preference was to have it with a little bit like with Indian flatbread, but Papa would actually sort of give you as an option Indian flatbread, but you can westernize it with a little more items.
Yeah, the modern day will like a little bit of this, but we ate it as we grew up. We ate it just the meat. I'm really not liking the fact that a lot of our old recipes are getting lost in this modern world, and I want to see that these legacies remain, and this is just such a great opportunity to put it out there, recorded officially, and it will be a tribute to Adil and my grandfather.
I think for all men who don't want to mess around with too much of stuff, this is very simple. It just meat, salt, and ghee in a pressure cooker. So I think it's universally easy to make, whether you're a bachelor or you're a family man. I think that's what makes this recipe so special. It's very, very simple and yet so tasty.